Hello, and welcome back to my series of videos where I get karmic retribution for making cursed Halo. I've been to a couple of really cool fencing events over the course of the last year, and I have a lot of footage and stories to share, but I've been kind of hesitating on it because I haven't really been sure how to make a good video on this topic. I'm not sure if it's because expressing this kind of stuff in a video is hard, or if I'm just not good at it because the style of video I usually do is just so foreign in comparison. Regardless, I decided to stop overthinking it and just put a video together and talk about some of the stuff on my mind. To start off, I want to talk about Yeehaw 2024, a massive armor fighting event. Yeehaw is primarily about historical formation fighting with halberds, spears, and bows. There is a lot I can say about this event, but there's one thing I don't know if I could honestly put into words, and it is what it feels like to be in one of these battles. I spent a ton of time leading up to this training both physically and also tactically, but nothing really prepares you for the actual event. Keeping track of 1 or 2 spears in a fight is not that bad, but trying to track a dozen of them flying all over the place with tons of people around you becomes quite a bit of a problem. And all that chaos would be hard enough to manage if I was just wearing a fencing mask, but instead, of course, I'm wearing a helmet, which limits how much I can turn my head and my peripheral vision. I can't even imagine how bad it is for the guys who are wearing full helms especially, because even with an open-face perf plate helmet, it's hard enough. So I wanted to talk about some of the cool scenarios that I found myself in during the event, but going through all the footage, it looks like every interesting thing I wanted to talk about happened off camera. Which is just, oh, come on, bruh. Here's hoping that when this event rolls around again at the end of this year, I won't be so damn broke and I could get a GoPro to stick on my helmet or something. Or maybe I could try my hand at animating stories. I'm not sure. I don't know. Give me some ideas in the comments, I guess. So after the main event, the next day was a Totentons tournament, which I also participated in. And this is actually the main topic of this video today, competitions. One thing that I absolutely hate is competitive online video games. I've always found that when you add the words ranked matchmaking to something, it just guarantees that no one involved is going to have fun. And I play video games to have fun. Now, this isn't to say that I hate multiplayer games or anything. I still love playing Halo with the boys. But as soon as you flip that switch from friendlies to competitive ranked multiplayer, it just instantly stops being fun. So given that fact, I thought I should avoid competing in fencing. I was sort of worried it would make me hate it, but for some reason it's just different. Fencing is inherently very competitive even in just free sparring, and while there are some days where I perform badly and I feel frustrated, it's never been toxic. I never walk away from sparring angry or sad or unsatisfied, and I don't think I'm the only one as well. I've talked to other people there and found they all share a fairly similar perspective on this. And I find this kind of interesting. What is the disconnect between a competitive in-person sport and a competitive online game? Why does League of Legends condition people to use gamer words while fencing just doesn't? My first thought is that it's a sense of camaraderie in the HEMA community. Fencing isn't exactly the biggest sport, so we generally try to be welcoming and open to anyone who wants to join. At least in my own experience, everyone I've talked to and sparred with has been incredibly genuine and good-natured. I've never had a bad experience, though that's not to say it can't happen. I think it's just a good sign that after nearly 3 years, it hasn't occurred. I feel like this theory has the most weight overall, because, I love playing Halo with the boys, but I don't really enjoy playing Halo with faceless, anonymous other players. It kind of lines up, I think. My second thought on this, though, is that it's a result of an equal playing field. When you get repeatedly owned by someone with a sniper in Halo, the usual response is, damn, the sniper in this game is busted. But when I get hit in the thigh 3 times in a row in a sparring match, like yesterday, my thoughts are usually more like, what am I doing wrong here? What is leaving me open? The nature of fencing is very interesting in this particular way, I think. Physical strength and size do play a role in how you fence, but they aren't as important as they are in other sports. I fence with my friend Matt all the time, and it's a fairly even match. But when we grapple, he can basically pick me up and throw me across a room. His strength and size are a massive advantage when unarmed, but in fencing, that has its advantages and disadvantages. Obviously, I'm not implying that fencing is perfect in this way. There probably is a best overall build for fencing. But what I'm saying is that HEMA tournaments don't generally have weight classes or gender restrictions for a reason. The sword, in a way, is a great equalizer. Obviously, though, this is just my best guess. I'm not a psychologist or a philosopher, but I just wanted to throw my thoughts out there. So if you guys have any other ideas, let me know in the comments if you have some theory about this. Alright, so next up, I wanted to talk about a few moments from my matches that I thought were interesting or good. Basically give a play-by-play of some of the rounds, I guess. In pools for Sword and Board, I landed this incredibly unlikely hit here. The tip of my arming sword stuck into his gauntlet and actually prevented him from swinging back at me. This was absolute luck. He would have definitely hit me on the next tempo if it hadn't happened, and it probably would have counted as a double. He decided to continue the bout despite the hand hit, and the next round had a pretty good back and forth ending in a light cut to the upper torso on the opposite side from the shield. Oh, and on that note, I haven't explained the rules of Totentons. It's a fairly unique rule set for fencing. When you land a hit, the judges take note of where it landed and how strong it was. They then enter that info into a phone app and it tells them what damage was done. Usually you get a countdown timer that ticks down during the match, and when it hits 0, you die from blood loss. And if you're dead, you are completely out of the tournament. This is balanced out by the fact that you can concede a match at any time. So generally speaking, it's a good idea to bow out of a fight if you take a hit that seems severe. But you can risk it all and keep going if you want. A solid hit can in fact lead to an insta-kill after all, which is what happened here. Sorry, dude. After managing to not drown in pools, my first match was against my friend Colby, which I began with a, well, what is it? I then immediately conceded to him because he landed a good hit on me. Taunt to get bodied also applies in real life, apparently. I then had to do effectively a loser's final for third place. This fight went on for a really long time, actually. After a few back and forths, though, I landed a clean hit right on the toesies. I was honestly aiming for the leg, but this is the first time I had ever used a steel arming sword, as all my practice had been done with a synthetic, and I misjudged the weight more than a few times in this tournament. In our second round, nothing really happened, but in the third round, I landed a quick hit on the torso here. Despite the 2 hits, though, he was still alive and decided to continue. So my plan here was to just defend and wait for the inevitable Thanos snap to happen. So I took third place in Sword and Shield, which I am proud of, but I also feel like a bit of a fraud here. Almost everyone I fought had more experience in this weapon than me, and my friend here is just flat out a better fencer than me. I just got lucky, I guess. So back at the Yeehaw Totentons tournament, I also had a wild match against my friend Colby. We went back and forth for 2 rounds, and I believe both of us had landed hits on each other, and both of us were bleeding. But we didn't know how long we had left before one of us would die. And then, this happens.
Oh, yep. All right, call what you saw. This might be the double death I've been waiting for.
It's usually.
Am I dead? All right, he yields the field. Colby wins.
How many seconds?
8, 5.
5.
Oh,
So close to a double death.
yeah, let's go.
After Sword and Shield was Rapier, though, which is the weapon I consider to be my favorite. It's also a weapon that's very misunderstood. Video games and movies love to paint this thing as some fancy, flamboyant dexterity weapon, but in reality, it's a big, heavy stabbing stick. Insert point into enemy to receive murder charge. So in this match, I got this incredibly unlikely hand shot, perfectly centered straight through the middle ring of his rapier. This is why cup hilts are objectively OP. Skaggs straight up looked at me and said,
That was sad.
Because it was bullshit, and yeah, it was a cheap shot. It all worked out though, because I ended up pairing a thrust and corta, and then traded a leg cut for a really solid thrust to the upper chest, which no amount of tariffs is ever going to balance out. Also, funnily enough, I did this exact same trade in arming sword pools as well. I guess I have sort of a pattern to my my boss moveset. A few rounds later, I also had another interesting match. We went back and forth a few times, and I made this absolutely terrible parry, and then just locked in and went for it. At the time, I wasn't even sure if I had connected that or not, but the judges called it a hit, and looking back on the footage, yeah, it definitely hit. And then it was the final match, and like the fraud that I am, I literally did the exact same thing again.
Oh! He did it again! Did he kill him?
Can't keep getting away with this.
He killed him!
Threaten a glide in Corta on the high line, then just duck low and thrust in Secunda while passing to the left. Actually, never punished. I can't keep getting away with it. Or, well, sort of at least. I did drown in pools for longsword and got insta-killed by a thrust to the face in smallsword, but, you know, mostly never punished. Okay, so wrapping things up, I would love some more feedback on this video. For whatever reason, I feel like talking about my actual fencing and, like, showing my good matches and talking about them feels a little disingenuous or maybe ego-driven. I don't really know how to describe it, but I want to make sure that this is actually fun to watch, so genuinely asking here, did you like this or not? Do you want more of this in the future? Let me know. And before I go, I also want to shout out Rocket City HEMA. If you want to learn more about HEMA, they have a ton of great videos on many different subjects and weapons, and if you're already into HEMA, consider coming to Yeehaw later this year. I'll put a link to the event page in the description if you want to come and beat the shit out of me. Anyways, thank you for watching what honestly amounts to a pilot episode of a bunch of fencing stuff, and I hope you all have a great day.